try to get involved because their teammates were involved, but the officials now will have the pressure on them as to how they will handle this. Ed T. Rush, Steve Jabby, Nolan Fine will come up with their decision when we return for the second half. Right now, though, we'll go to Bob Page in New York.
All right, Marv, good evening again, everybody. After being humiliated at home here in New York on Sunday by the Knicks, San Antonio proved that that was no fluke when they journeyed to Cleveland tonight and were absolutely humiliated by the Cavaliers. The Spurs, slumping since the All-Star break, were hammered 127-90. Ouch. John Lucas and company down 6 going into the second quarter, where seldom-used Danny Ferry actually corrals a rebound. The bust from Duke to Hot Rod Williams to Craig Elo, who gets the hoop and the call. Cavs by 10 at intermission. Then they broke it open in the third quarter when they outscored the Spurs 39-22. Late third, Spurs turn it over. Mark Price running, dishes to Brad Daugherty for 2 of his game-high 25, like Ewing Sunday.
Explosives continued with the Phoenix Suns warming up when Greg Anthony accompanied the coaches onto the floor. He and Kevin Johnson had words. Once again, Gerard Mustoff, the one-time New York Knick, made a move toward the Knick bench, and he was ushered aside. Here's how it developed. You see Anthony now being ushered off by a couple of security people. He flipped the ball at one of the Suns right there, and Kevin Johnson once again tried to get at Greg Anthony. So it just continued on. Still no word on what the decision is. A look at the original confrontation off the inbound.
There was a foul called on Doc Rivers. He couldn't believe it. Now Kevin Johnson is mouthing off big time at Rivers. And that certainly provoked things. It was a very controversial call in the eyes of Doc Rivers, made by one of the top officials in the NBA, Ed Rush. That led to technical fouls, series of them. Kevin Johnson was one of them also who got the technical foul.
All right, John Starks has been ejected along with Doc Rivers and Anthony Mason. And for the Phoenix Suns,
disagreement here, Kevin Johnson and the coach, Paul Westphal. Look at this. This guy's wild.
He has been ejected, we're told, as has Danny Ainge. Paul Westphal trying to calm Kevin Johnson down. Here's the announcement. Let's pick it up. Watch the reaction.
For John Starks, Doc Rivers, Anthony Mason, and Greg Anthony. For Phoenix, Kevin Johnson and Danny Ainge. The first 2 technical fouls to each team cancel out. The Suns will shoot 2 technical free throws.
All right, the Suns will shoot 2 technical fouls because 4 Knicks were ejected, including Greg Anthony, along with Starks, Rivers, and Mason, Kevin Johnson, and Danny Ainge. So 2 technical fouls will be taken by Tom Chambers. John, as we look back to the games we have covered over the years, and we have seen NBA basketball for a long time, this would have to rank as one of the more bizarre and wild episodes. I think back to Willis Reed at Madison Square Garden against the Los Angeles Lakers, when he was held from behind and then broke berserk in throwing punches.
He broke Rudy LaRusso's jaw. I remember being at the game.
At least in this situation, although it could have gotten even worse, could have gotten even more out of hand, there were no solid punches landed.
Barb, I know it may sound like a hometown touch here, but to me, Kevin Johnson provoked all this trouble with his mouth and then with his actions in that final contact, unnecessary contact on Doc Rivers. Now you see Rivers coming up the court. He'll be met by Kevin Johnson hard. I mean, that's a blocking play. He was moving forward into Rivers. He wanted to cream him, and that came on the heels of the last play, which resulted in technical fouls.
Well, the NBA's Vice President of Operations, Rod Thorne, will be spending many hours this evening trying to figure out what the penalties will be, and there will be some stiff ones. Meanwhile, Miguel Knight, who had not played at all in the first half, has checked in. Mark West missed the stuff. Here's West again, and he's fouled. Foul called on Charles Oakley. So the ejection list for the Knicks: Mason, Rivers, Starks, and Anthony. You talk about Kevin Johnson provoking it, but Greg Anthony is going to be hit hard too. Scotty Robertson, assistant coach, thrown out early. Kevin Johnson, Danny Ainge are gone. So Miguel Knight is in the lineup for the first time this evening. The Suns with a 61-53 lead.
Greg Anthony had no business doing what he did. He was not a participant in the game. He's an injured player, and I can't believe he made any friends with his teammates. I don't know what he proved by his actions.
9-point Phoenix lead. It's their biggest lead of the game as this third quarter gets underway. And the Knicks opening up with Charles Smith, Charles Oakley, Tony Campbell, Patrick Ewing, and Hubert Davis. A very sparse-looking Knick bench, what with the departure of 4 people. Now Ewing puts the move on West. And it's rebounded by West. Here's Sabalos. He's called for a charging foul.
This turn of events will have a very big effect on the officials. You know they're going to call things tightly now. And what a challenge this is to Pat Riley and his team with the 3 players he has on the bench.
Also, John, I would think the psyche of the Phoenix Suns going into a game like this, last touch by Campbell, and that the Knicks have the reputation of being the bad guys. I'm sure they're saying to themselves, we're not taking anything when we go up against the Knicks. Who do they think they are, coming in with that kind of physical reputation? But in this case, a couple of unlikely people got involved in Kevin Johnson and Doc Rivers. Barkley on a turnaround, and the Suns have pulled away to an 11-point lead.
Charles took pleasure in delivering a message to the Knicks bench as he ran up court.
Foul on Knight. Now check that. Frank Johnson called for the foul. And Tom Chambers now checks back in.
Charles Barkley on that nice turnaround with a little message to the Knicks bench.
Minute and 20 gone by in this third quarter, and the Knicks are down by 11. Here's Smith. Yes. 9-point Phoenix lead. Frank Johnson in his 9th year out of Wake Forest. Played in Europe for a couple of seasons. One time Washington Bullet. Spent a year with Houston. Here's Smith. And Chambers with the rebound.
Meantime, with all this confusion, the Suns are enjoying a 9-point lead. That's a big number the way this game has been played.
Foul committed by Davis. Pat Riley ended up in the midst of that pileup, and I think the pants have been repaired.
Pat comes prepared for everything.
Barkley. Davis played by Johnson. Crowd looking for a travel.
I think the officials should call a technical foul on the crowd. You know, they're getting in the way.
And a traveling violation called. And the Knicks have started in very shaky fashion here in the third quarter.
All right, Tony, don't worry. There's no one to put in behind you, so you can make another mistake. Pat Riley's going to stay with you.
Right, Starks, Rivers, Mason, all gone. Greg Anthony, who was in civilian clothes, is out. Here's West, stopped again by Ewing.
Oh, spectacular block by Ewing. He was muscled out, and he retreated back into the play.
4th block for Ewing. Again, the crowd wanted to travel. Knicks off here in the early going in the third quarter. It'll be Phoenix ball.
Boy, what a test of will by the Knicks. You know, talk about feeling like you're in the Roman Coliseum. Everything going against you. A third of your teammates have been ejected. Ewing, after being muscled out by West, made a terrific recovery for that block. But what a test of heart for the Knicks to follow now.
And Pat Riley going to Bo Kimball in just a moment. Early entrance for Bo with the bench stripped by the ejections. I mean, going into tonight's game, the Knicks without their usual starting point guard, Greg Anthony, and now Hubert Davis is operating as the lone point guard on the roster.
Nice block by Charles Smith.
Here's Campbell. Rebounded by Smith. Campbell with the fake, and he was fouled. Tom Chambers called for the foul. Bo Kimball getting set to come on. This is the first meaningful playing time for Bo Kimball. He comes on for Tony Campbell. For Kimball, it is only his 8th game, but usually was used in final minutes. Looking for instant offense. Pat Riley going to the bench for Kimball. The Knicks are down by 9. Barkley with the save, and Smith saves it to Marley. It counts, and the foul.
And that's the danger of making a save around the opponent's basket unless you know what you're doing with the ball. Fine recovery by Barkley. Charles Smith with a good recovery, no question about it. Good effort by him, but no thought behind it.
Knicks trying to call for a timeout. Now they get the official word as you take another look at the drive by Dan Marley through the foul. He will go to the line when we come back.
2-on-2 Jam City, and I'm the mayor.
Yo, fellas, how about a game of hoops?
As the Knicks take on the Jazz Thursday, on to the LA Lakers on Friday. You can see the security people behind the Knick bench for precautionary reasons.
But there's no one there.
That's right. Very sparse-looking Knick bench. The Knicks are now down 67-55. Bo Kimball operating at the shooting guard position. Patrick Ewing, 10-point Phoenix lead. So Ewing has 24.
Nice look by Charles Smith. Feels funny talking about basketball, doesn't it?
Marley off the nice lead from Barkley.
Bo Kimball not used to that kind of matchup. He got suckered in by Marley coming up and then going back door, getting a beautiful lead pass.
Suns by 12. Davis with the fake, pushes it back out for Ewing. Marley pushed by Kimball. Orlando Blackman also involved in some of the verbal warfare earlier with Kevin Johnson as the Suns were warming up at the start of the third quarter. Johnson was screaming over at the Knick bench. And then Rolando, another guy who really gets involved.
But Kevin Johnson, Marv, is just so out of control.
Frank Johnson with his first field goal. Well, we saw Kevin Johnson arguing with his coach, Paul Westphal, but that in the heat of the action was just upset. Frank Johnson with the steal. Marley for Barkley. It counts, and the foul.
I can really see how you could grow to hate the Phoenix Suns if you're an opponent playing here. Just thinking as a fan, you know, nice play here by, look at the strength of Charles. Now watch this reaction. Hubert Davis lost that ball to Frank Johnson. Let a look at that beautiful bounce pass. Barkley was rocked, and he had the strength to make the shot and then become a jerk.
John, you're getting out of control here.
I mean, I just think
this is all part of home court environment. Phoenix Suns are not a club that usually gets involved in fisticuffs. If any team has the reputation, it's the Knicks. But in this case, it was Kevin Johnson who provoked it.
I think the adolescent Charles Barkley then lays it on, so
well, that's
and
all.
It's overdone. That's all.
All part of the act. Suns lead 74-57.